The mass propaganda campaign that's battering Americans and Britons and the entire West, trying to convince them that Islam is incompatible, is terrorism, is outside of Judeo-Christian values. This whole thing is a psychological warfare campaign, not just against Muslims, but everybody, all the people of planet Earth. The Romans had a name for this. It was called divide et impera, divide and rule. The phrase was made famous by the father of Alexander the Great, King Philip II of Macedon, who bribed all the rulers of the most powerful cities in Greece, offered military protection to Athens, Thebes, and Corinth, promised gold and trade deals with Thessaly and the Chalcidians and the Illyrians and the Thracians, and promised everyone something under one condition, that those rulers would never ally with each other. And then behind all their backs, he bribed their politicians, fed their rivalries and civil wars, and let them exhaust themselves fighting each other. And while all this was happening, there was an Athenian orator, Demosthenes, watching in horror, seeing what King Philip was doing, giving speech after speech, sounding the alarm. Year after year, Philip is playing all of you against each other. But there is so much to gain by playing that game of divide and rule. It's a pyramid scheme. It rewards the people at the bottom, the indoctrinated, with a feeling that they belong, that they're protected, that they're superior to those outside the pyramid. And all their snake oil preachers, they get paid with riches and fame. But the pyramid scheme is a trap. In the end, it collapses and consumes everyone. By the time all the rulers of the cities of Greece and their followers realized what King Philip had done to them, it was far too late. They were all destroyed and subjugated. Divide et impera remains the strategy of the ruling classes, who conspire with heads of state, the Fortune 1000, their media platforms. All of our major institutions are filled with these parasites, loyal to no people, nation, nor religion, but the Church of the Golden Calf, which idolizes material wealth and power as the highest value of human achievement, not recognizing that that force of greed, which has filled and consumed their character, has of course stripped them of any human qualities. Divide et impera, that was the basis of the very first crusade that began peddling anti-Islamic propaganda under Pope Urban II. The Catholic Church was based in Rome, but France was the most powerful Catholic kingdom. And that's where Urban gave his famous speech in the Champagne region of northeastern France, where he described Muslims as a vile and degenerate race and accused them of all kinds of unspeakable atrocities and framed the necessary conquest of Jerusalem as a direct command from God. Pope Urban told the people that if they killed Muslims, they would go right to heaven. And the crowd's response was Dieu le veut. And the monks translated that from French into Latin, Deus vult, God wills it. And those words, the motto of the Crusades, are tattooed on our self-proclaimed U.S. Secretary of War. Pope Urban's crusade massacred millions of people, not only Muslims, but Jews and Eastern Christians. And for the Pope, this served a purpose. They were a human sacrifice, which unified the European nobility under his papal authority. It gave all those landless knights a quest to die for, and it redirected all the internal European violence outward towards somebody else. Meanwhile, the ruling classes for a short time could collect their gold. The church made Pope Urban a blessed saint. But the crusade had failed in every regard. It failed to take Jerusalem. It failed to build a civilization of any kind, let alone a Christian one. The Pope had called Muslims a vile and degenerate race, and then spent the next 3 centuries rebuilding society on what it learned from Muslims. Because in reality, up until that first crusade, Europe was in the Dark Ages. It was burning heretics, collapsing, illiterate, and the Islamic world that they'd called degenerate was in a golden age. Baghdad's House of Wisdom was the intellectual center of the whole planet. Muslim scholars were translating and preserving, advancing the entire Greek philosophical tradition. Muslim scholars were leading the world in math, astronomy, medicine, optical science, surgical tools, our whole understanding of infection, chemistry, philosophy, literature, the building of the first universities. the spread of literacy, and all the knowledge and information required for a renaissance. And then with the invention of the printing press, the old stories of holy emperors and holy quests were all falling apart. And from the ashes, a new religion was born, the religion of the state. The nation became the new crusade. But every crusade needs an infidel, a scapegoat, a threat from outside the colony walls. And then when radio and television and digital and satellite communications arrive, now the ruling classes have the most powerful technologies ever created for psychological warfare. And even though the world we live in has everything that we need to feed and house and clothe and care for all of us, that might depose those ruling classes from their thrones. And so they used the greatest invention in recorded history for divide et impera. And underneath all their bombs and ash, in that crime scene we once called a Holy Land, there were also once 3 tribes of Abraham and 3 books. And in each one, there is a prophet who greets his followers with one word. In Hebrew, it's shalom. In Aramaic, the language that Jesus spoke was shalom. In Muhammad's time, he used the word salam. It's one word. It means peace. The Jewish people use it in a common phrase, shalom aleichem, peace be with you. Multiple times in the story of Jesus, he says it in Aramaic, shalom aleichem. And the Muslims say it, assalamu alaikum. It means peace be with you. The same phrase. All of these tribes also use the same word for God. Not a sky god, a painted idol of a bearded Roman emperor. A first cause. A one, all-encompassing reality. Beyond the realm of ego, or forms, or imagination. In Hebrew, that word is Eloah. In Aramaic, it's Allah. In Arabic, Allah. Same word. If you think these 3 tribes, in all of its branches, are somehow separate or incompatible, that's not your opinion. That's the result of an archaic, medieval campaign that continues to plague every corner of public life in the Western world. Divide et impera.